The 1980s was the golden age of the American mall. Across the country, millions traveled in their shiny new cars to bustling shopping centers not just to buy things, but also to meet friends, go to work, and all around just have a good time. Meanwhile, small, walkable town centers began to shudder as car dependence took over more and more aspects of the American lifestyle. However, this period was not to last, as the story has gone full circle and now more and more malls are closing or failing. Why is this though? Around the rest of the world, shopping malls are still thriving and are usually much better off than their American or Canadian counterparts. Why are American malls in decline, but not anywhere else in the world? Well, in order to answer that, we'll have to visit the grounds of a large mall south of Denver, known for its outdoor section reminiscent of a small town. Welcome to Why American City Planning Sucks. Hey, I'm still in Purgatory, also known as the Park Meadows Mall, right next to County Line Station, which was the topic of the last episode. This station is also where I'm beginning my journey today. To get a better understanding of my goal in this video, let's get an overview of the mall grounds. I am here at the station and want to walk to this furniture store called At Home. This will not be easy as the Park Meadows Mall is evidently surrounded by surface level parking lots, and there are also no sidewalks on the mall's property. But hey, it can't be that hard, right? I'll just take this pedestrian path into the mall from the station, walk through the mall, then I'll cross these two streets and I will be at home. Get it? That doesn't sound too hard. Wrong. You see, I have been coming to this mall for many years, by both RTD and by car, so I can speak from experience that getting around this place is a chore, no matter your preferred method of transit. Park Meadows, like so many other malls across North America, is surrounded by what I like to call a parking moat, where the sheer amount of surface-level parking lots surrounding the mall form some sort of medieval fortification against any and all pedestrian who wish to enter. At least this walking path exists, which, like parting the Red Sea, allows me to safely walk from the station to the mall.
Popeyes.
This one break in the sea of parking surrounding the mall is its only saving grace, as in my opinion Park Meadows and its moat perfectly represents everything wrong with malls like this and why they are doomed. Heading inside the mall, it was decently busy, with hundreds of shoppers going up and down the halls, and the food court being the most densely packed area as usual. However, some may be thinking that using Park Meadows, a successful, busy mall, as an example of the failure of US mall designs is nonsensical, but I feel the reason why Park Meadows is currently popular only further substantiates my theory of what is killing US malls. Now, the design of Park Meadows is a unique mix of indoor and outdoor shopping areas, and actually, I think I'll just let 9-year-old me explain.
Yeah, it's half outdoor, half indoor. Well, actually 1/4 outdoor and 1/8 indoor. I am horrible at fractions, so I'm just gonna count it as partly indoor, partly outdoor. Or mostly indoor and partly outdoor. Yeah.
This outdoor section is called the Vistas. It is one of the main appeals of the mall and is actually quite nice. The whole area is remarkably peaceful, open, and the waterfalls running through the middle is an excellent touch, as 9-year-old me would say.
Bridge! Lily pad!
Many of the surviving malls in the US build their allure through atmosphere and a high-class reputation. Park Meadows does this well, and the Vistas plays a part here. Also, the interior design of Park Meadows is where I believe the mall deserves the most praise, and if it was closer, I'd go here more, because once you're inside, it's pretty nice. The mall's architecture with wood ceilings in the style of a mountain cabin, the river in the middle of the vistas modeled after a mountain stream, the whole mall just appeals to that upper-class consumer or a tourist from out of state who thinks Denverites ski to work. Park Meadows succeeds where many other Denver malls fail by making itself a destination. A notable place. Dare I say a retail resort? Yes, that's the tagline for the mall. It's corny and pretentious, but it works to sell the high-class atmosphere that Park Meadows is clearly going for. They also have a valet service, which I find ridiculous. If you've gone through the effort of driving all the way out here and you can't park your own car, then maybe you should rethink some things about where to put your money. Nonetheless, Park Meadows is a mall for refined shoppers, and that's where its reputation stands. This good reputation is what is keeping similar malls alive across the country. Heading down to Arizona, the most successful mall in the Phoenix metro is the Scottsdale Fashion Square, a mall that keeps a similar high-class reputation to Park Meadows. This mall is also helped by being in a semi-dense urban development and is easier to walk or bike to than a parking moat-type mall. Though the rest of Phoenix is a haven for dead malls such as the Metro Center, which I managed to get some footage of before it closed. The Metro Center was never able to rebound because it had grown a bad reputation among shoppers. There was a time when Metro Center was the premier mall of Phoenix, but as it aged and received few renovations, it grew outdated and run down, which only further drove shoppers away. In Denver, we used to have Cinderella City, which was the largest mall in the western United States when it opened. But it aged, and by the late 80s, it was no longer the cool mall in the city. Only 3 light rail stops away from Park Meadows lies the abandoned shell of the Beau Monde Mall, which didn't even last 10 years before a bad reputation and a lack of anchor stores drove it to bankruptcy. The story of this mall is a really interesting one, and I may do a video on this in the future if I can get some footage before it's torn down. Anyway, my main point here is that even though someone may live closer to Southwest Plaza, many will instead make their way to Park Meadows because it's just the better mall that is perceived to be safer. Why go to the Aurora Town Center where several shootings have taken place when you can drive 10 minutes further and go to Park Meadows where only one shooting has taken place? As soon as the general reputation of a mall begins to decline, it feeds into an endless cycle where due to less investment, the mall becomes more run down, and therefore less people shop there, so in turn becomes more run down, and repeat until the mall is closed or bankrupt at 20% occupancy. Park Meadows is not immune from this trend, and even though it's considered a nice mall now, who knows how long this reputation will last. A better designed mall that is organically mixed into the layout of the city will not face these issues of reputation and class. There are several reasons for this, but I think one of the biggest factors is that going to a car-centric mall is a highly time-intensive effort and quite inconvenient. Therefore, shoppers will only go to a mall like this on rare occasion. This is why niche clothing stores or specialty restaurants are the most common shops you see in American malls, whereas convenient, transit-oriented malls will more commonly feature stores you routinely visit, such as grocery stores and pharmacies. Please do not feed the fish. There are fish? Oh, there they are. Found them. So let's look at what I consider to be a well-designed, well-integrated mall. This is the Raicheva Center in Belgrade, Serbia. The mall is built around the older structures on this square city block, as this land was empty before construction. This mall is right along pedestrian streets, and it is easy to walk to. As a walkable mall that does not require hours of your time to travel to and visit, its convenience allows locals and tourists alike to enjoy a shopping center that blends seamlessly with the city around it. A similar design in Denver is the Denver Pavilions, which is right on the 16th Street Mall. Both of these malls are extremely compact and are far more welcoming places that aren't surrounded by parking lots. These malls still have parking, it's not like they're car-free, but the parking is put underground and it's clear that these malls were built with more in mind than just cars. Park Meadows should strive to be more like these examples. Not only would this help its chances of not becoming a dead mall in the next couple decades, but it would also make the mall a more interesting, nicer area, not to mention the increased retail space. Getting developers to revamp these parking lots into a dense, mixed-use development will make the mall a much more functional place, as well as encourage people to take the light rail instead of the car. In fact, another Denver mall, Flatiron Crossing, is starting to do this somewhat. It's clear that the Vistas is the main selling point of Park Meadows, so here's my suggestion. If everyone likes this area so much, then why don't we build this across all of this? Better yet, let's throw some residential and office space in here as well. The vast sea of parking is no longer necessary if you create a walkable, mixed-use community with easy transit access. And even if you need to keep the parking, at least allow the land to be used for more than just one thing. Hey look, they already kind of did that over in Lakewood. This is Mohr, a mixed-use development about 20 minutes away. While this place is far from perfect, it is a showcase of a more livable area that functions better as a town center than most malls ever could. One of the main stores here is Target, which is unsurprisingly this large building here, but unlike most other Targets, this one does not have some giant parking lot next to it. Why is that? Well, it's because the store is built on top of its parking and loading docks. Customers can drive here, park in a nice, sheltered garage, and walk over to the main entrance like any other Target. Meanwhile, those arriving by other forms of transit, such as bus or bike, don't have to cross some concrete wasteland before they make it to the front door. Parking below, stores above, and across the street is this building, which does the opposite. The upper section of this block underneath the solar panels is parking for Whole Foods, but the bottom section houses several smaller retail spaces, all of which are currently occupied. And all of this was done in Mohr, a place with far worse transit connections than Park Meadows. Back at Park Meadows, I had made my way to the end of the Vistas, and realized that there's a fence here, and no crosswalk over the adjacent road. Beyond that is a hill and no crosswalk over Yosemite Street either. Can I also mention it's stupid that Yosemite is called a street when it's very clearly a 90-foot wide boulevard anyway? Due to these barriers, I'll have to walk around the yard house, through the valet parking and down past car toys, which is almost double the total walking distance. None the matter, I will make it to this furniture store that I have no intention of shopping at whatsoever. Through the valet parking I went, then across this road here, and by the way, there is not a single designated crosswalk along this entire section of the ring road. Super welcoming place we got here when any pedestrian has to play real-life Frogger before they reach any shops. Finally, I walked past the car toys and crossed Yosemite.
Oh, run! God damn.
And just like that, I had accomplished my goal of reaching the at-home store.
Ah, more brilliant pedestrian sidewalk design. Brilliant. Love it. Someone left a shopping cart here. Why would they do that?
And while I stack up some bonus points on the ultimate litmus test by returning someone else's shopping cart, let me show you this figure stating that by 2032, up to 87% of malls across the US may be closed. Sure, this is a worst outcome scenario, but even if half the projected malls close by this time, that's still well over 60 malls per year. Localizing on the Denver Metro, car-centric, hard-to-access malls like Northfield and Southwest Plaza are far more likely to close within the next decade than walkable, compact malls like the Pavilions. Park Meadows resides somewhere in the middle, being very car-centric, but also having a light rail stop and the capability of becoming more transit-oriented.
Alright, I'm gonna make my way back now.
I also want to talk about a new mall design I've seen recently that will not fix any of the issues present. This is the Denver Premium Outlets, an outdoor mall about an hour away from Park Meadows by car on the other side of the city. This is also the only mall I forgot to include in my Denver Malls tier list video. And if I had remembered, it would have got a solid F, just like the nearby Orchard Town Center. The Premium Outlets, just like Park Meadows, is just off I-25 and is surrounded by surface-level parking lots. Though its design is much worse than Park Meadows because it is outdoors, which makes it far less comfortable to shop at during bad weather, and there is also no transit here. This is incredibly stupid, and I don't know what designer thought, oh, The reason why malls are dying is because they're indoors. No, the reason why malls are dying is because they are really, really difficult to get to and usually not worth the effort. The Denver Premium Outlets and other similar outdoor malls managed to not fix any of these issues and have the added drawback of no heating or air conditioning. Speaking of no heating and air conditioning, I was getting really cold walking back along this gravel path as I recorded this footage in 30-degree weather like 3 months ago. This episode took a while because I've been pretty busy during my last semester in college as well as graduating. I bring this up because my entire graduation ceremony, from start to end, went on for 1 hour and 42 minutes. Checking my footage, it took me 1 hour and 20 minutes just to walk to at home and back. Do what you will with that information, but I think it does illustrate the amount of time you dedicate every time you go to a car-centric mall like Park Meadows, let alone how long it takes to drive there. And walking back with more haste, I could take in the tonal whiplash of jogging across an 8-lane strode and 10 minutes later strolling through an air-conditioned mall courtyard. Departing the mall, I headed out the doors and walked back down the pedestrian path to the station.
It might be perfect. Try it on. How did this Marshall's cart even get here? I don't even think there's a Marshall's at this mall.
Upon further research, there is a Marshall's nearby, though it's clear down here and the person that wheeled this shopping cart all this way had to cross several streets, many of which have no pedestrian crosswalk available. Whoever moved this cart here likely did so without a vehicle, and it was probably difficult. This cart can serve as a reminder that not everyone in the US is able to afford a car or wants to drive everywhere they go, yet our cities are actively hostile towards anyone who's not in a car. It is a fact that wide intersections along busy stroads like these are the deadliest places for pedestrians across North America. Also, look at these stupid little parking lots between the 2 ring roads here. Why do these exist? There aren't even any sidewalks out of the parking lot, so what are you even supposed to do here? And last, let me briefly mention one thing often cited as the cause of the shopping mall's decline, which I believe to be less important than commonly perceived or only significant because of prevailing design flaws with the mall itself. Those nefarious e-commerce fiends, they're hell-bent on killing our malls. In all seriousness, online shopping does play a part, as people who used to frequent malls can now just buy things off Amazon or eBay. However, everyone can agree that internet-based purchasing works because of its convenience. Therefore, online shopping can only have a significant effect on the populations of malls if the malls themselves are inconvenient, which they are. In order to visit a car-centric mall like Park Meadows or the Premium Outlets, one must set aside a large part of their day, no matter how small the task at the mall is. Car-centric malls are inconvenient and ill-conceived places that are very difficult to get to. I'd even go as far as to say that most do not enjoy going to these places either. This is why I say that online shopping is not as responsible for the death of the North American mall as the major inefficiencies that make malls undesirable to the average consumer in the first place. This car-dependent planning is by far the most substantial cause for the death of malls across North America. I'd also confidently say that the worst malls are those with a distinct parking moat, because even other car-centric places such as Mohr are better off by not surrounding themselves with a literal wasteland of concrete and metal. To conclude, crippling design flaws are killing malls across the United States, as their complete inaccessibility by any form of transit other than cars has rendered them difficult to access and overall less favorable than new forms of shopping such as e-commerce and home delivery. Malls outside of the US don't face this issue, as most are either transit accessible or blend well into the city fabric, unlike American malls. So no, online shopping did not kill US malls. The malls killed themselves by being so relentlessly car-centric that it has become detrimental to their atmosphere and functionality. Malls should be comfortable places that people enjoy being at. A well-designed mall, like the Liljeholmsviken Center, should be integrated into the city fabric so that you could stumble into it by mistake. The US mall design has neither of these qualities. They are ugly, boxy, deteriorated hellscapes that you must go massively out of your way to visit, and while many used to be fun, social places, their debilitating design flaws have made them far less appealing as the years pass by. The rise of online shopping has killed so many malls across the US because it's easier and more comfortable than going to the mall, which says far more about the mall than the e-commerce sites. And while Park Meadows retains its warm, cabin atmosphere and upscale prestige, its car-centric layout is a ticking time bomb, for as soon as shoppers no longer wish to go out of their way to get here, for whatever reason, the mall will shutter. The transit-oriented, mixed-use mall will never face this issue, as its well-integrated design will allow it to remain thriving as long as the city has people. Park Meadows has the potential to be a better place, with more development on the site of old parking lots that nobody will miss. This development, this adaptation to a cohesive city plan, will save the mall from ending up like so many other rotten shells across the country. By extension, this same logic applies to whole cities. If we refuse to adapt to smarter, more convenient and sustainable city plans, our cities will age into relics of a bygone era, when the sky was still blue and people could afford to drive an hour to spend their whole day in the mall. So let's begin removing the parking, and in its place add more bike lanes, more walking paths, more transit alternatives. This trend of dying malls is a shining example of the colossal failure of car-centric city planning. Malls that change will survive and thrive. Malls that don't will succumb to their fundamental poor design one way or another. But that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode where I cross an incrossable street in an attempt to support a local bakery. Bye.